students. So as you all know, our PS Olympiad phase 2 is coming up. So I have decided to solve this mock test, the science portion, so that if you have any doubts, you can understand how to do these questions. So we'll start with physics section first. The first question is, you have a body that is moving with a uniform acceleration and it is traveling in a straight line, and it travels a distance of 50 meters in 7 seconds and a distance of 70 meters in 11 seconds. How much distance will it cover in 40 seconds? So we have been told in the 7th second, the object is covering 50 meters. In the 11th second, it is covering 70 meters. And we have to find out the distance that it is going to cover in the 40 seconds. So for questions like these, we have a formula. So the formula is Sn, which is distance covered at nth second, equals u being the initial velocity, a being the acceleration, and n being the second in which you want to calculate the distance. So let's calculate S7. So the distance traveled in 7 seconds is equals to u plus a over 2. We don't know the value of u. We don't know the value of a. Plugging in n as 7. And this S7 is equals to 50. Solving this equation, we'll have u plus a over 2. 14 minus 1 equals 50. U plus a over 2. 13 equals 50. Okay, so this is going to be my first equation. Now let's calculate the value of S11, meaning the distance that is covered in the 11th second. So here we don't know the value of u, we don't know the value of a, doesn't matter. I'll just plug in n as 11 minus 1 is equals to 70. So solving this, u plus a over 2, 22 minus 1 is 21. So 21 a over 2 equals 70. This is my equation number 2. Now I want to find out the value of these variables. So I have two variables and I have two equations. So it becomes easier for me to calculate. What I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 1 and 2. So 2 minus 1. Okay, so u being subtracted with u. So it will cancel out. Then I have 21 a over 2 minus 13 a over 2 equals 70 minus 50. A over 2 is common, so we can take it out. 21 minus 13 equals 70 minus 50. This is going to be 20. A over 2. 21 minus 13. Now this is going to be 8. This will cancel out to give you 4 equals 20. So your acceleration comes out to be 5. This is 5 meters per second. Now that we have calculated the value of acceleration, we can easily calculate the value of initial velocity. So let's just plug this value in our first equation. We'll say u plus a over 2, so 5 over 2, and it was times 13 equals 50, right? So we'll write u plus 2 equals 50. Now u would be equal to 50 minus 65 over 2. Minus 65, and this is going to turn out 35 over 2. Okay, or we can say 35 over 2 is equals to 17.5 meter per second. So I know my initial velocity, I know my acceleration. Now it becomes really easy for me to calculate the value of the distance that is covered in the 40 seconds. So I'll say distance covered in 40 seconds can be solved by using the second equation of motion. We have S equals ut plus half at square. U was 17.5. So 17.5 times we have 40 seconds plus half. Acceleration is 5 meter per second square times 40 square. When we solve this, we are going to get 4,700 meters. So for this first question, our answer is going to be 4,700 meters, option B. Let's move on to the next question. Okay, in the second question, we have been given two statements. First statement is that when an object is placed between two plane parallel mirrors, the first image appears brightest and intensity of images decreases afterwards. Statement 2 is image formed by a plane mirror is virtual and erect. You know that this statement is true because a plane mirror always forms virtual and erect image. Let's go back to statement 1. We have two plane mirrors, something like this and like this. Okay, this is my mirror and my object is placed somewhere in between them. Let us suppose this is my object O and it is at a distance d from here and distance d from here. Now, if I look at this M1 and let it be M2, if this object is like, if the light from this object falls on mirror M1, it's going to strike somewhere here and then it is going to be reflected, right? Now, when we take this back, this is going to be the image of the object. Let's call this I1. Now, this reflected ray is going to be used as the incident ray for M2, and then again reflection will take place and there would be an image formed over here. Let's call it I2. We know that the distance of the image and the object is always the same in case of plane mirror. So for I1, the distance would be d because the object is at d distance from M1. Now for M2, the object is I1, which is at a distance of 3d. So the image will also be formed at a distance of 3d. Now this reflected ray will again be used as the incident ray for M1. One more image will be formed and then it will again be reflected, again be used as an incident ray, and this will keep on happening. So what is happening is that one ray of light is being reflected again and again. And while reflection happens, a bit of absorption also takes place. A bit of light is like energy is being wasted, it is being absorbed. So because of it, the first image is going to be the brightest, but as we move on, the intensity of the images will keep on decreasing. So statement 1 is true, statement 2 is true, but they are not the explanation of each other. So you'll say that both are true, but 2 is not the correct explanation of 1. Let's move forward. Now we have this figure. We have a plane mirror over here, right? There was an incident light at an angle of 45 degrees. Okay. Now we have rotated the mirror. This is the new position of the mirror. We have rotated the mirror by an angle of 20 degrees. Okay. We need to find out what is the value of angle of reflection. Okay. First thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to name these. So let's call this A, O, B. Let's call this mirror CD. Let's call this BE, right? So initially my incident ray was AO and it was being reflected. from the mirror CD. Now I have tilted my mirror by an angle of 20 degree. So new position of the mirror is BE, and I need to find out the angle of reflection. Now, one thing that I need to consider is that this BE, now this AO is going to be the incident ray on BE, and we have to draw the normal over here. As you know that normal is always perpendicular. So we'll say that this angle, let's call this ray as P. So angle POE is going to be 90 degrees. Okay. Another thing that you need to notice is that angle BOD, like this angle, and angle COE, this angle, they are vertically opposite angles. So they are equal. This is going to be 20. So we'll say that angle COE is 20 degrees. Angle COA is 45 degrees. And sum of COE, COA, and AOP makes up 90 degrees. So we are going to add them up, 20 plus 45 plus, this is we need to find out. This is 90. So this would be 65 plus angle AOP equals 90 degrees. And this is going to be angle AOP. It's going to be 90 minus 65. So basically 25 degrees. Okay. Oh, sorry, 90 minus 65 degrees. So this is going to be 25 degrees. Yeah. Okay. So now this angle AOP, as you can see, incident is the angle between the incident ray and the normal. So this is basically angle of incidence. And we have to calculate the angle of reflection. And by the first law, we know that angle of incidence is always equal to angle of reflection. So angle of reflection is 25 degrees. So our correct answer is going to be 25 degrees. Okay. Moving on. 34th question. Potential difference applied at the ends of a given conductor is doubled, then the resistance of conductor. Okay. We know that according to Ohm's law, V is proportional to I, right? And the ratio of V and I is equals to R. If we are going to double the value of potential difference, then current will also double, right? But because they are in ratio with each other, it means that the resistance won't change. The resistance will remain as it is. So resistance would be constant. Okay, so last question of physics. In this question, we need to focus on calculating the amount of heat that is required to raise the temperature of 100 grams of water from 5 degrees Celsius to 95 degrees Celsius. Okay, we have been given the mass as 100 grams, right? The temperature has been increased from 5 degrees Celsius to 95 degrees Celsius. So basically the temperature difference, delta T, is going to be 90 degrees Celsius. And we know that the formula for the amount of heat that is required is Q equals mc delta T, where m is the mass, C is the specific heat, and delta T is the change in temperature. So this is 100 grams. We know that the specific heat of water is approximately 4.2 joule per gram degree Celsius times 90 degrees. This is going to be 9,000 times 4.2 joules. So this is going to be so basically 37.8 kilojoules would be your answer. So this is our answer. Okay. Let's start doing chemistry now. First question is, which substance will undergo a chemical change when water is added to it? Okay. When we add water to sodium chloride is nothing but salt. So it will get dissolved. Sugar will also get dissolved. Lemon juice is quite interesting. When you're going to add water to lemon juice, it is going to get diluted for sure. And because lemon juice contains citric acid would be dissociated, like the rate of dissociation would increase, but no chemical change would be there because no new substance is being formed. So I would say that it should be none of these. Okay. Next, which of the following material is not a reactant during rusting? We already know rusting involves iron reacting with oxygen in presence of moisture. Basically, CO2, carbon dioxide, is not a reactant. Common name of H2SO4. Blue vitriol is CuSO4.5H2O. Green vitriol is FeSO4.7H2O. Oil of vitriol is H2SO4 and muriatic acid is HCl. Now, an element X reacts with oxygen. Okay, so we have X which reacts with oxygen to form Y, and Y turns red litmus to blue. Anything that turns red litmus to blue means it is basic. So option A and option D are eliminated. Now we have to predict whether X is a non-metal or metal. So as we know, metal oxides are always basic in nature and non-metal oxides are acidic in nature. So for this, the answer is going to be C. X is a metal and Y is a basic oxide. Now we have to identify the wrong statement. Soil helps forest to grow and regenerate. True. Forest influences the climatic and water cycle. True. Forest protects the soil from erosion. That is also true. Plants and animals in a forest are not dependent on each other. That is a false statement. So this is going to be our answer because we know that animals depend on plant for food, shelter, etc. And plants depend on animal for compost and for getting carbon dioxide. Okay, moving on to biology. Okay, so the first question is we have to match the columns. The first is salivary gland. We already know saliva helps to break down starch into sugar. So A would be matched with fourth. Let's look at the options. So C is eliminated, B is eliminated. Okay. D option is same in both of them, so we don't need to consider it. Let's look at B and C. Intestinal glands. Intestinal glands help to break down peptides into amino acids, and our pancreas help to break down proteins into peptides. So A is going to be the answer. Okay, what is common among pancreatic amylase, renin, and pepsin? Okay, these are all enzymes and they help in digestion of different things. So we will say that since all enzymes are proteins, so this is going to be all of these are proteins. Not all of these are protein digesting enzymes. This is not going to be true. And it is also not true that they are not all of them are produced in the stomach. Okay, moving on. 43rd. Sometimes during heavy exercise, your body cannot get enough P. Obviously, you cannot get enough oxygen. To produce the required energy, to get the additional energy, Q respiration occurs. In the absence of oxygen, anaerobic respiration occurs. In your R. R means muscle cells, during which partial breakdown of glucose occurs and S is produced, S being the lactic acid. We need to find out the incorrect statement. So P is oxygen, true. Q is a type of respiration that occurs in the presence of oxygen, which is false. We have been told that it happens in the absence of oxygen. R presents muscle cell, true. Accumulation of S in muscles causes muscular cramps, true. So B is the answer. Next, pH of human blood is, okay. So if you're talking about human blood, the pH of human blood in arteries is 7.45, I guess. And in case of veins, it is 7.15. The pH is lower in veins because veins carry deoxygenated blood back, which contains carbon dioxide mixed with it, due to which it contains a slightly acidic character. So we will say that more in arteries and less in veins. And our final question, complete reabsorption of glucose takes place in, we know that it happens in kidney and in the proximal convoluted tubule. So I hope this video was helpful. And if you have any doubts, feel free to leave a comment below, and I'll see you in the next one.